Hey, mamas. Welcome back to another episode of the Reawakened Mom podcast. I am here with Kimberly Tara today, and she is a tax strategist and a business growth advisor. Welcome, Kimberly.
Yeah, you're probably gonna call me Tara more than once. It's totally fine. I'm used
Oh
to
my
it.
gosh.
But I am good. If y'all see me glance this way, it's because I've got two monitors with two little kids that the sitter had a funeral to go to today. So we are doing this mom thing, right? Like we're here doing it.
Yeah, exactly. That is just the way it is. So, like, my kids are older now. So, I have
Okay.
teenagers. So, they're at school currently. So,
I
but
have
I
two
went
at
through that
school and two
stage.
home.
Yes. So, tell us about that. So, if I can do math, two plus two is four.
We have 4 total. Yep, and I will do the math for y'all because it we all people think we're crazy when I tell them their ages. So they are 7, 5, 3, and 19 months. So I'll do the math. They're all
Gosh.
22 months apart, basically. And yes and no, it was kind of planned that way. Yes and no. Our first was a little like, a little earlier than we anticipated starting our family, but it was great, and, it's because we were meant to have 4 kids. I'm a planner, right? Like, I'm a pretty typical CPA when it comes to planning an organization, and so I was gonna have 2 kids, boy and a girl and a boy, and let's just say, like, we all know when it comes to having kids, like you can just throw your plans
Yes.
out the door. And I learned that from the get go. So we now have 3 boys and a girl. We do gender surprises. So we did not have another baby because we wanted a girl. We did not stop because we had a girl. 4 was a really hard limit. We decided before going for that fourth that we were at peace with a boy, right? That was really important that we were at peace with whatever gender came, and then we were done either way. 4 is a really that was a really hard limit for me because 2 was
Hmm.
originally my limit.
Yes. How did you get talked in? How did you get talked into three
No,
and then
I
four?
would
If two was
actually
your limit, like, I'm curious.
so
Wait a
I would
second.
say it was actually more me than my husband. So I remember just feeling incomplete. I remember holding our second baby in the hospital. He was like an hour old. It was just my husband and I sitting in the hospital room, and I was like, "We're not done. Like I know. Like I know we're not done." And he's like, "Okay." And so I think that we were given 3 boys and then the girl because I think that we would have made the logical, rational, fiscally responsible decision to stop at 2 kids, right? But I think that when we were deciding to go for number 3 and really when we were going deciding to go for number 4, it was, what do we want our life to look like when I
Mhm.
envision when I envision a Christmas morning, when I envision the Thanksgiving table, what do I see 20, 30 years from now? And I saw another baby, and it was deciding on 3 wasn't that hard of a decision. 4, we really went back and forth, and at one point, my husband was like, "Whatever you want," and I was like, a 4th baby is not a whatever you want." Like,
Yeah.
he's very laid back. I'm high strung, and, like, it works. I'm like, "This is not a whatever you
Yeah.
want type decision here." Like,
Yeah.
you have to fully be on board, and so for us, we were driving back from Disney, one of our Disney trips with the kids. We're about 9.5 hours from Orlando. I'm in New Orleans. And I told him, I was like, after spending a week in Disney with our kids and thousands of other kids and spending all the money that we did, I was like, I still think that we would regret it if we didn't have one more. I was like, but
Oh.
not now. Like, I'm really like, I was doing things in my business. You know how, like, it takes you over a year to get back to you after you've had a
Mhm.
baby, like, at least a year, right? So I must have been like 14 months. Our third must have been 14 months. So I was really starting to hit my stride again with my business. Everybody was sleeping well, right? Like I had energy. And I was like, so not right now. Like, let's do a little bit more of a gap. The next day, y'all. The
What?
next day I found out I was pregnant. And the only reason I knew was because I was tracking it because while we were happy and at peace with a boy, we were also gonna try, like, some of the little old wives' tales about, like, they have, like, the Chinese calendar month to conceive, like, one gender or the other. They have, like, positions and, like, all the things. We were gonna just like, we were at least gonna give it our best shot of
Yes.
having a girl. So I was tracking it for those purposes, and I was like, "Wait a minute." And so along came our little 4th. Good thing we had I mean, we would have been fine if we hadn't talked about it the day before, but we were
Wow.
fully at peace. It was meant to be.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that. So, okay, before we dive into anything taxi, I just have to know because, okay, you have 4 kids
Mhm,
and also you run a business.
mhm.
Like, how is that working for you? And also, there's a second part because when I was trolling your Instagram, which that's what we do, I saw this post about doing less. And I actually just read the book from Kate Northrup, Do Less. And I
Mhm.
would love to know, like, what does doing less mean to you? Because I think that's just
Yeah.
so important to us as women, as moms, as entrepreneurs, and it's just really important. I think needs to be talked about more.
Yeah, gosh, where do I start to unpack
And remember,
this?
this is only a half an hour.
I know, right? Where do we go? Okay, so I should also add in my husband works a full-time job. He's an engineer. I have my parents are super supportive. They work full-time, but they're there. They live here in New Orleans and they're super helpful. And my oldest has autism. He's high functioning, but he has autism, and we're actually getting our current 3-year-old evaluated for that as well. So that kind of adds some
Hmm.
uniqueness to the mix, if you will. Um, this journey has been a really long time coming. So I actually just posted that post today. And my word of the year here in 2024 is imperfect. And something that I'm leaning into more is do less. I'm an Enneagram 3 wing 2. If you know anything about the Enneagram, I am a high achiever with a wing of a helper. It is a robust combination sometimes, and I put a lot of pressure on myself. No one else puts pressure on myself. So I like to tell people, like, I get the question a lot, like, how do you do it? And sometimes I honestly don't have an answer. I
Hmm.
think as moms, all of us as moms, like we find a way to make the impossible happen. Like that is a mom superpower no matter what. We
Yeah.
have a way to make the impossible happen if it's something that our kids need, right? So I've really entered this I mean, so let's go back. For 8 years ago in February of 2016, well, that was when I became pregnant. I found out in April that I was pregnant for the first time. And so since that day, my life, my body, my world has literally been for another human being, and now it's for 4 human beings. And so I've just I realized at the end of last year, like, I've really lost myself. Like, I've
Mhm.
really lost who I am outside of being a mom. We're in this rat race cycle of like trying to survive and trying to be present for these kids and give them my all, and I'm not giving myself anything. And so what I've realized through a lot of self-reflection, a lot of coaching, a lot of conversations with a lot of other CEO moms is, I really have to find me again this year. And part of that is me doing less. And over the last couple of years, I've gotten better at asking for help and realizing that things don't have to be done my way, right? Like if the dishwasher isn't loaded exactly how I want it loaded, but it's loaded and the dishes are clean, like just let it go.
Yeah.
So I've been working on things like that. Like if the clothes aren't folded exactly how I want them, they're clean. Or like if I do the laundry, sometimes I just let the clean laundry sit in the hamper. It's clean. We can go, like, if they need to go get a pair of underwear, at least the underwear are clean and not dirty, right? So I've just been working on leaning into imperfection, leaning into the fact I have a Post-it note right here that says done creates momentum, right? So just getting things done and not letting that perfection paralyze me. And then the other thing that I would say is so I've learned to ask for help, but I've really been leaning into my team and growing my team. And I had this notion as a business owner that if I brought someone on, they would not care about my business as much as I did. They would not treat my clients like I did. They would not do as good of a job as I did. And I
Mhm.
really learned that those were some false narratives that I was telling myself. And while that might be true, they are not going to care about my business as much as I do. The other ones weren't true. We have the most amazing tax accountant on our team who I trust implicitly. She absolutely cares about our clients as much as I do, and she is a quick learner and is getting there, and I hope that she becomes a better tax strategist than I do one day
Mhm.
because like that is my mentality that has changed now, right? So that I can fully lean into my CEO role and the things that I need to do, and she can still assist me in making sure that our clients are taken care of. And so that is part of doing less, right? Saying, and I have a quote right here that I'd love to read. It's from Sarah Blakely. It's on my planner that I keep here.
Ooh.
And I gave these to everybody on the team. So my word of the year is imperfect. Our team word is flourish for the firm this year. And so on mine, my quote that I remind myself every day is, if somebody can do something 80% as good as you think you would have done it yourself, then you've got to let it go. And
Mm,
I'm working on that, right? That I don't have to be the one to do everything. And so that's where my do less is coming from, because I'm happier, and me being
mhm,
happier and less stressed is just this ripple effect on everything else in my life, in my professional life, in my personal life, in my marriage, in my kids' life, just everything. And so that's
mhm.
where that's and so every night I write my 3 gratitudes in my journal. We're only 18 days into the new year when we're recording this, but for 18 days I've written my 3 gratitudes every day and my one thing that I did imperfectly for the day. And it's a challenge. Sometimes I sit there and I have to really reflect on the day. But I'm really leaning into that because I need it and my kids need it and my husband needs it. And other days, other than that, outside of that knowledge, I would say it's an organized circus. It's
Mm,
organized chaos here with 4 little kids. It's the best
yeah.
I've got. It's the best I've got.
Mhm. I love it. This just resonates so much because at the end of last year, I wrote this whole thing on 5 steps to finding you,
Mhm.
and came up with a framework for that because I do think that most people are not talking about this, that they
Mm-mm.
feel alone, that they are struggling, that they are overwhelmed, that they have no freaking clue like
Yep.
who they are as a
Yep.
person
Yep.
versus like I'm the mom or my kids like to do this. Like what
Mhm.
I have what do you mean? I'm supposed to have something I like to do? Like
Yep.
something supposed to bring me joy? Like my kids
Or
bring
the
me
guilt
joy.
of taking the time. My kids do bring me joy, but I also don't like being with my kids all day, and I like, mad props to stay-at-home moms because I do not like staying at home all day with my kids. I love, like, the breaks here and there and the flexibility that I have, but I do not like being with my kids all day. I love
Yeah.
the work that I do, and I am very, energized by my profession and the role that I have in women's lives, and so, but it's just by the time I give each child 15 minutes, that's an hour. And the first child, I need to start over again. Now, again, mine are
Mhm.
young. They need a lot of time and attention
Yeah.
and care. But literally, by the time I give each of them 15 minutes, it's time to go back to the top. And hours have passed, by
Mhm.
the time I do that. And it's okay. It's a season. I'm trying to embrace it. But somebody else, I love that you have a framework for it, but somebody else also told me, so I'm 33, and she's like, you're trying to find 23-year-old Kimberly, and you're not gonna find her again, right? Because I was
Mhm.
talking about how embarrassing it is, how embarrassing it is that my current exercise goal is 10 minutes a day, 4 days a week.
Mhm.
10 minutes. That's embarrassing almost to even say out loud, but it's where I'm at. I used to work out 2 a days in college, and I lifted weights at one session and I did cardio at the other session. She's like, "You're not gonna get back to that. Your body has birthed 4 children. It's, like, not capable, and you haven't worked out in 8 years. It's not capable of that, and you don't have 2 hours in your day to go
Yeah.
back and forth to the gym." She's like,
Mhm.
"You're trying to find your old self. You need to find your new self this year." And so that's part
Mhm.
of it too. Like, I'm not refinding 23-year-old Kimberly. I'm
Yep.
finding 33-year-old Kimberly. And she put it into perspective. She's like, do you expect your 7-year-old to act like he did when he was 0 or 1, right? And it's like, no, he's changed in 7 years. And even though it's not as visible, the changes that you physically and mentally had in 7 years, you are a different person because it's been
Mhm.
a decade.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Yeah, that's I mean, that's everything I preach. I mean, I love it so much and it's so true and I think we go through this so much and just shifting into like what our beliefs are, like our values, all
Mhm.
of those different things and sometimes like feeling that lost feeling of like I don't know who I am because you're still trying to figure everything out in your 20s
Yep.
and then you're gung ho and you're aiming at all these different things before you have kids, before you got married, whatever it
Mhm.
is. And then all of those things happen. And like, you're right. You try to go back to that and you're like, then
Mhm.
you start all that self sabotage, that negative
Yep.
self talk, all of these things.
Yep.
You're shaming yourself. And it's like, there's no need for that. Like,
Nope.
this is a new discovery of like, yeah, who you are. And it's
Yeah.
just beautiful that you're on that path and you're finding finding that time because you won't find it. Like you have to make that time in
You
your
do.
day with 4 kids, or you won't find that 10 minutes. So it's not just going to magically appear.
Does not. And it's not going well. I have not hit my 4 days a week here in like less than 3 weeks of the year, but again, just I'm trying to give another thing is giving myself grace and not putting so much pressure on myself. And again, it is very much
Yeah.
self-inflicted pressure. It's not my husband, it's not my family, but I was that child that I would come home with a B on a test in school. My parents were like, "It's okay. It's going to be okay." And because I'm like, "I can't believe I got a B in like honors physics," which I hated physics. But they're like, "It's okay." So I know that it's all self-inflicted
Yeah.
pressure, and I'm trying to not put that much pressure on myself.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Good for you, because I know so many times too, I think moms wait till they're empty nesters. They wait until their kids are gone when they're like, or they wait till something tragic has happened to then be like, wait a second, let me reassess. Is this actually
Yeah.
how I want to live my life? Is this actually the job I want to be doing? Am I actually happy? So to be able to do that now, like when you're still in your prime, I don't know why I'm saying in your prime, it just feels like, you're in your prime.
Yeah.
You're not, your kids aren't gone. Like they're still around. You still are being present with them, but you also want to be present with yourself. Like just really cool. So
Yeah,
good for
and I
you.
think I think some of the fuel for it too, Melissa, is I want to make sure that I'm the best version of myself for them. Like
Mhm.
I felt like I was snapping at them more, and it was because I was stressed and tired, and again, they're little, and so a lot of things aren't like they're not doing it intentionally. It's not their fault. But I felt like I wasn't being my best version for them. I'm so sorry. This is a beautiful track. It is beautiful. Can you go watch Ice Age Collision Course, please? I put a movie on for you. Go watch it, okay? I'll be down later. I love you. I love you. Go watch Ice Age. I even gave him a movie so that this would not happen. I'm so sorry.
Why are you sorry? This is mom life. Like I'm not cutting this out. Like this is mom life. Like this is
He's
the
showing me his
way the
Lego
world is.
car that he made.
Oh, I love
And
Legos.
do y'all want to know why this little dude is home? So the three older ones, they go to school. He doesn't nap, and so he was waking up all of his friends at nap time. So we
Mm,
now have to pick him up every day at
oh,
12:30.
because he doesn't like
I
to sleep.
because he doesn't like to sleep. All of our kids quit the nap at 2. And it was so funny because so our 19-month-old, she is in the ones program, which is just a morning program, which is great, right? She goes in the morning, she gets her socialization, then she comes home and has her afternoon nap because she's one. So the big boys went back to school in August. She didn't go back until after Labor Day. So I literally got her in school. You may not touch that. I literally got her in school, and 3 weeks later, they called and said, "Yeah, you're gonna have to keep coming to pick him up." And so I was like,
Oh,
I just started getting like some hours back to myself. And
yeah.
now here it felt like October of 2023, I guess last year. It was a really hard month. And I
Mhm.
think that's part of what stimulated where I'm going for 2024.
Yeah.
It was a really hard month. My husband was working a grueling work schedule, so I was on my own. I was dealing with being told I was going to have to pick my son up. You can type on it. Sit right there and type on the keyboard. It's disconnected. I was being told that by the vice principal and the counselor, who were very kind, that I was going to have to pick my son up. We were dealing with some struggles with our oldest with his autism. We were starting his evaluation again, right? We were having some significant changes going on in the tax practice, and it just felt so heavy. And it was one of those times where, it was like, am I going to catch a break?
Mhm.
Am I going to catch a break? And I think that, you know, it just, I realized that something needed to change, that I couldn't keep doing all of the things at the rate that I was doing, the way that I was doing them. And I think that that was really the impetus to be like, what can I change? What can
Yeah.
I control? And, you know, I wasn't really able to start doing that until mid-December because again, my husband's work schedule and things that were out of my control and having to get through the evaluations with the psychologists and things like that. But I do think that that was a big part of the impetus to be like, yeah, something's got to change. Mom. You need help. Okay, well, why don't you go watch Ice Age Collision Course and then you can help me in my office after. Can I finish my call, please? Please? You can take that downstairs. Do you want to bring that downstairs with you? Okay, thank you. I'll be down in just a little bit. I love you. And he's our most, y'all. This 3-year-old dude right here. He is, I don't even know, that third child. Anybody who has a third child is exactly what I'm talking about. Because your second, you get this first child and they're so good and they listen and they sit quietly. And then the second child comes and you're like, this is a wild child. This is a wild child. And then we got the third and we were like, dang, this one's gonna give us a run for our money. But he's so cute and so sweet
Mhm.
with his little, if you go look at my Instagram, he is the one with blonde hair and blue eyes. And I mean, man, he goes, Mama, I love you. And I'm just like,
Mm, yes.
deep breaths, Kimberly, because you're like trying to fuss at him because he just hit his sister. And it's like, you can't just hit your sister and then say, I love you and get away with it. But y'all,
Yeah.
I love him. I love him so much. But whoo,
Yeah.
he's the one. He's the one that's going to give me
Yes.
all the, I had to go back to more blonde because the gray hairs were really starting to come in. It's that kid's fault.
I love it. Oh my gosh. Well, you'll have to keep us posted on all the different things that
Yeah.
you are going through. I'm sure you'll maybe
Yeah.
share some of that journey and stuff. I actually used to be a
Definitely.
school teacher and I taught kids with autism for 10 years.
Okay. So
So that,
you,
yeah,
yeah.
so I have an autism certification, special ed certification. So I
Well,
totally,
thank you for doing that. It takes
yeah.
very, it just, and I've learned so much and I honestly think it's made me a better human just to understand how his brain is different and I've read a lot of books. I get comments from a lot of people a lot of times like, "Wow, you're such a good mom or you handle him so well." And I think that's my job, right? Is to educate myself so that I can be there for him and it's hard because he is high functioning, so he doesn't really fall deeply into the
Hmm.
special needs category, but you can tell he's not neurotypical, and so he falls through the cracks a lot because it's like, what resources does he need? And so I feel like my job is to advocate for him right now, but also teach him to advocate for himself to say,
Yeah.
I can't handle that, or I need extra help with this, or this doesn't work for me because as a parent, you can't always be there for your kids. And I believe that wholeheartedly. And so I just think we have some extra steps and some extra work that we need to do to get him ready for that.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Great job. So yeah, you always have to be their
Mhm.
advocate no matter what. So
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, you are doing that and you're teaching him those things as well. So that's beautiful. All right. We're like going to come down to the end, but I want you to share some tax tips. So what would you
Yeah.
say are like what are like your big things? Like how do you help mom save money? Like what are your best tax tips right now? Or like what would be like those things that you're like, "Ooh, this is what I have to tell you right now. It's so important."
Yeah, so we primarily work with CEO mom service providers, business owners, right?
Okay.
Because if you're a W-2 earner, unfortunately, there's just not a lot in the US. And I should also say this is for US, right? The US. There's not a lot that you can do as a W-2 business owner. However, one thing, if you are a W-2 earner, I want you to check your withholding because a lot of times we see clients come to us and they're like, why do I owe? Why do I owe? Right. And you, not your payroll company, not HR, not your employer, you need to look at your withholding and make sure that it's enough on your paycheck every month or every other week, whatever that looks like. So that's my biggest tip. If you're not a business owner and you're just getting a paycheck, make sure your withholding is enough so that you're not owing at the end of the year. If you're a business owner, that's where it gets fun. And you might not think it's fun, but I think it's a lot of fun, right? We can strategically use your business to pay less in taxes through advanced tax strategies. So that might be things like, is it time to elect S corp? Are you missing out on deductions, right? So, and if you remind me, Melissa, we have a free guide. It's 12 deductions that you're missing that are costing you money, right? That's what we see a lot, especially for newer business owners, even established business owners. They're like, I didn't know that that could be a business expense, or I didn't know that I could strategically turn my travel into a business deduction if I follow these rules, right? So I'm just really passionate about educating our CEO mom service providers because the reality is We weren't taught this in school. That old cliche, you don't know what you don't know. And we were in a generation where, and we're seeing this change, but we were in a generation where it was still like the old boys club and the boys talked about finances and the boys talked
Mhm.
about money and the boys ran the businesses, right? But no, we are up and coming. Moms are running incredible multi six figure businesses while having kids at home. And we want to support them in a very safe environment where they feel like they can come talk to us and share the good, the bad, and the ugly, and we're not going to judge them, and we're not going to make them feel dumb for not knowing this, right? And we're
Yeah.
going to work together truly as their partner who cares about their success to say, okay, how do we use your business? What strategies can we put in place? We help them with their quarterly tax estimates, right? And we are there. We work year round with our clients to make sure that, that all of these things that they weren't taught, all of these things that they didn't know when they became an entrepreneur, we're helping guide them when it comes to the taxes.
Mhm. What would you say are some of the best deductions, like, to make, like, if you are a small business owner that maybe people miss or they don't even think about if you, like, drop a couple in?
Yeah. So a portion of your cell phone, because I mean, I don't know about y'all, but like most of the time when I'm on my phone, it is for work, right? I'm responding to emails. I'm only on social media if it's for work, right? So a portion of your cell phone, uniforms. So if you like a lot of our photography clients, when they came to us, they have like if they're a wedding photographer, they wear like a black, top and bottom, and that's
Mhm.
their uniform, but they didn't have their logo on it anywhere. And so technically without a logo, it's not deductible per the IRS's requirements. So by getting them to add like a small logo right here at the top of their pants, we could then justify it as a uniform. Another one I see, especially for moms, parents, right, is sponsoring events. So, like our preschool, our daughter's preschool, for example, they have a fair every year. For the last 6 years that we've been there, I've sponsored the fair. My business has sponsored the fair. Now, the way that these organizations approach it is they tell you, oh, we're a 501c3, it's a charitable donation, you can deduct it on your tax return. Yes and no, right? A business, an S corp or a partnership or a Schedule C cannot deduct a charitable contribution, but they can deduct a marketing expense, right? So if somebody wants me to donate something, I'm asking them, no, I'll sponsor something. So tell me, how are you going to market my business? What is the visibility going to look like? Because I'm looking for ways. I don't want it to be a donation. I want it to be a marketing expense
Mhm.
because that's a dollar for dollar deduction for my business. So, for example, the preschool at the fair, I have a sign in front of the ride that we sponsor. There's a sign in the main hall. We're in the brochures. We get a shout out on their Instagram. We're listed on the website. And so I feel very confident saying that my sponsorship is a marketing expense and I'm getting enough visibility. It's not a donation, it's a marketing opportunity.
Mhm.
And so I just see that like little league shirts for your kids' soccer
Yeah.
team, right? A banner for the school fair, all these things you always want to be figuring out how can it be a marketing expense, not a donation that is going to save you tons of money.
Yeah, yeah, we did that a ton with the restaurant.
Yeah.
Because everyone's always asking, for all the
Yes.
different things, and so yeah, so that's a great tip. So
Yeah, it's such a
yeah.
missed opportunity, right? And just remember things like like I even see people buying audibles and that's a if it's a business book, right? And pretty much either I'm listening to a parenting book or a business book and 75% of the time it's a business book. That's a business expense. That's education, that's training, that's development, right?
Mhm.
And if you're buying that for your team, if you have team members, right? That's a business expense as well. So, remember all of those things, office supplies, if you're buying pens or notebooks, I still have pens and planners and stuff. All of those things are deductible in your business as a business owner.
Awesome. I love that. So, is there anything? I mean, we have been all over the place, which I
I
absolutely
know,
love. That's what
sorry.
I love about this podcast. No, this is not an apology. Like, this is like that's what I love. Is these are real conversations. I love that your son came in. Like, that's what this is about. This is not about perfection. It's about imperfection, right?
It is.
So that's what
But
I
my
love.
heart still drops. That
I know.
perfectionism in me is like, oh my God, get out.
Yeah, you're like, get out of here. Don't you read my face? You were so good. I was like, you were really good. I love it. But how about is there anything that you haven't shared or is on your heart? And it can be about motherhood, it can be about tax, like whatever. Is there anything that you feel like is just coming up for you that you want to just be like, oh, this one last thing?
Yeah, yeah. Um, we're the generation. of women and moms who weren't included in the money and financial conversations. So it's up to us to educate ourselves to be better for ourselves, for our family, but also because it's our responsibility to teach the next generation, those little ones, to have healthier money relationships and financial boundaries and financial literacy. And so even if you stop saying, I'm not good with money, I don't understand this, I don't do math well, right? Which I even joke about myself. I'm like, I do complicated math. I don't do simple math very well. But we need to stop saying all those things. We need to stop saying all those things around our kids, right? And the language that we use is really important. And so, I sometimes my kids are all Lego geniuses. My again, a thing with autism is he's very, very smart academically. Like, can't remember to close the door when he's going to the bathroom, but knows he's in first grade and he's doing order of operations algebra, right? So when they come to me with these complicated Lego builds that they're doing, and it's like, well, mommy, I realized I was saying mommy can't do that. And mommy can do that. I was an engineering major before I was an accounting major. I'm not dumb, but I don't like it. And I don't want to sit there and figure it out. But the language that I was using around my children, especially boys, was very, very important. And so now it's not, I can't do that. It's, you know what? While mommy could help you with that, daddy is so much better. And daddy loves doing it with you. Let's wait for daddy to get home so that y'all can work on this together.
Mhm.
It's not about can't doing it. Same thing with the garbage. I do not, y'all. There is a husband and 3 boys in this house. I am not taking out the garbage, okay? I can take out the garbage and I have taken out the garbage, but I'm not going to. Just like my husband doesn't buy the birthday cards and the Mother's Day cards and all of the things. He can, but I'm better at it. He's better at taking the garbage out, killing the bugs. I'm better at buying the flowers and buying the cards. So, but the language that we use, that mommy can take out the garbage, but daddy does it because it's a nice thing to do for mommy. The language that we use and what we're teaching our kids is so important. And so talk to them about money. If you don't know how, come listen to the CEO Moms Building Wealth podcast. I have lots of episodes on how we talk to our kids about money and how we're teaching them responsibility with money, because I just believe that the more we educate ourselves and the more that we talk to our kids about money, we can break these generational norms that we're used
Mhm.
to and make it better for our kids.
I love that. All right, this is my only scripted question of the whole podcast. And I
Okay.
ask every single person this because I believe that we as women do not celebrate ourselves enough.
Okay.
And so I would love to know, what is something that you love about yourself right now?
Can it be business related or
It
does
can
it
be
have to not?
anything.
Okay.
There is no right or wrong answer.
Yeah, so I made a decision in October of 2022 that I was gonna grow my business. Figured I was gonna stay small, but I decided I was gonna grow my business and I needed to reach more women out there, and we doubled our revenue last year, and it was only me up until, November when our new tax accountant came on, and I did it without all of a sudden going back to working 100-hour weeks. I don't wanna say it was easy,
Yeah.
but I did it in a way that still did allow me to be there for my family last year, but I'm like, I don't that might be one of the first times I've said that out loud, but, I am really proud of myself for it.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank
And
you.
just being brave enough and courageous enough to say it, first of all,
Mhm.
and do it, second of all, like, it's just incredible. So you're an
Yeah.
inspiration for sure.
Thank
So
you.
people are going to want to find you, all the things you mentioned, your podcast, like Instagram, all the things. I will put stuff in the show notes, but where can people find you?
Yeah, so I like to call it my landing page on Instagram. I have just started trying to post a little bit more. I don't really love social media, but I love chatting with everybody in the DMs. I love the voice memos. So I'm at Tara CPA Firm on Instagram. We have the CEO Moms Building Wealth podcast, and we have guest episodes and solo episodes where we talk about building wealth. And you know what? Wealth is not just about finances. Wealth is about
Mhm.
happiness and health and all of the other things in your life. So you can come join us over there. And if you're looking for a tax strategist or tax preparation services, you can find us at terracpafirm.com.
Awesome. I will make sure all that is in the show notes. And thank you so much for
Thank
being
you for having me.
here and sharing and being vulnerable in your story. It's amazing. So thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.